Archaeologists in Poland have uncovered the remains of a child padlocked to his 17th-century grave, apparently to stop him from rising from the dead. News.com has learned that the child buried in the grave was around 6 or 7 years old, and the grave dates back to an era when ghosts, zombies, and other supernatural apparitions were viewed as serious, real-world threats. Archaeologists made this discovery in a cemetery in the northern village of Pień in Poland. The child was buried face down in the grave, with a triangular padlock under its foot. Apparently, this burial ground was a cemetery for rejected people, according to Dariusz Poliński, a researcher on medieval burials at Nicholas Copernicus University. Poliński told Reuters, "This is a cemetery for rejected people, who were certainly feared after death, and perhaps also during life. Who were suspected of having contacts with unclean forces, people who also behaved differently in some way." On why he thinks the child was padlocked to the grave, Poliński said he believes that the people who buried the child this way because they were afraid of contact with these people because they might bite, drink blood. The researcher added that there are other methods used in medieval graves that were meant to protect the living against the deceased. There were also a large number of graves with stones, which were also supposed to protect against the deceased, placed in various places, for example on the elbow, on the larynx or on the neck, Poliński explained. The child's grave was desecrated at some point after burial, and all the bones were removed apart from those in the legs. CNN reported that the ancient grave also contained the remains of a woman, who was also padlocked to the grave similarly, in addition to a sickle placed around her neck. The outlet reported that this suggests that the woman was believed to have been a vampire. Archaeologists found gold threads in her clothing and flecks of gold on the palate of her skull, according to Scientific American, possibly indicating she had drunk a medicine containing gold. Ritualistic burials and vampire graves are a significant part of the rich tapestry of medieval Polish folklore, as more often than not, archaeologists and others come across ancient graves in Poland with dismembered remains of those buried in them. Culture, an outlet backed by the Polish Ministry of Culture and National Heritage, explains that vampire graves can be identified by the way the bodies are placed in them. Usually, people suspected to be vampires were buried face down, in the fetal position, with their heads cut off and placed between their legs, with wooden or metal pegs and studs piercing their bodies, or in a grave held down by rocks, in medieval Poland. The outlet notes that underneath the main square of the Polish city Krakow, researchers have found female skeletons laid in a fetal position. In Kazimierz Dolny, a town in Poland, a woman was found buried with her hand cut off and placed in her mouth. However, the most significant discovery of a so-called vampire grave was made in Gliwice. The outlet reports that the discovery was made during the ongoing construction of a new highway, and the bodies were found by construction workers. Workers found several beheaded bodies. Their skulls were placed between their legs, one of many ways to prevent the dead from returning, the blog post from Culture reads. It wasn't an uncommon occurrence to pronounce dead those who were still alive. They would wake up in the ground and struggle for their lives. Those who managed to escape the earth would run around in circles like a beheaded chicken. Ritualistic burials were thus a preventive measure against vampires and the resuscitated dead, the post adds.